What's up, squad? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Full Ride, the college recruiting podcast. This is your recruiting coach and host, Kito Delgado. And every single week, every Thursday, the goal of Full Ride is to educate our families on the ins and outs of college recruiting. We firmly believe that college recruiting starts with you. And the first step you can take as a family is to educate yourself on that process. So you can go ahead and take complete control of your recruiting journey. And I'm really excited. We are already halfway through the month of January, right? Time literally does fly. And I just really want to my hope is for many of you recruits is to make sure you are, really getting off to a quick start. You're putting your ducks in a row. But I also want to emphasize that you're not doing too much planning, right? It's really easy to confuse planning with taking action, okay? Many of you know by now what you need to be doing. And that is you need to start reaching out to college coaches. You got to start, to leave your comfort zone, student athletes, recruits. Leave your comfort zone and pick up the phone if you're a junior, if you're a senior, and literally start calling these coaches directly or email them directly. Right? You can't just sit back. Yes, knowledge is certainly important. You want to educate. You want to equip yourself with knowledge. And there's an old saying, knowledge is power. I disagree with that. Applied knowledge is power. Simply knowing is not enough. Knowing what to do is not enough. Knowing what to do and then doing it and executing it consistently day in, day out, that's power. All right, so that's just my little quick pep talk for you today. But yeah, it's a new year. I'm fired up. I'm excited for you. And I just really want to make sure that you're not just taking notes every single week and you're not just listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth, but you're actually taking those words and then you're applying them and you're taking action. So for those of you who are new to the show, welcome to the squad. Like I said, every single Thursday we do have a new episode of Full Ride, and we are powered by URECRUITU. I am the CEO and founder of URECRUITU. If you want to learn more about what we do, just head on over to URECRUITU.com. That's the letter U, recruitu.com. But we do one-on-one coaching with families. We do workshops with school districts, athletic departments, with teams. I also go in, I do keynotes for year end or season kickoff type events. We collaborate with AAU tournaments, with showcases. So while the student athletes are participating in the camp or in the showcase, we usually have a booth or we run some kind of workshop in coordination. So we do a number of things. If we can be of help to you beyond the podcast, just again, head on over to URECRUITU.com. And then last but not least, before we get into the show, we would love to connect with you on social media. So you can search us out, URECRUITU, for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And real quick, for all of you Alexa users, I forgot about this. This happened about a month ago. But now, so while you guys are at home, maybe you're cooking dinner, you're doing some laundry, some chores around the house, or maybe you're just relaxing, whatever the case may be, everyone has an Alexa, I feel like nowadays. You can actually now say, Alexa, please play Full Ride, the college recruiting podcast, on Apple Podcasts, and the most recent episode will begin playing on Alexa. So try that for me. I want to see if it works for you. But just say this: Alexa, please play Full Ride, the college recruiting podcast, on Apple Podcasts. and it'll start playing for you. I thought that was pretty cool. I did it with my daughter. She's 6 years old, and she was thrilled. She was like, "Daddy, are you famous?" I was like, "No, honey, Daddy is not famous, but that is pretty cool." So today I want to talk about, and I might actually break this episode into 2, maybe 3 parts. We'll see how it goes, because I don't want to spend too much time. I'm trying to shorten these episodes, to be honest, because I know you guys are busy, and trying to keep your attention for 45 minutes could be, a bit of a challenge. So I may break this up. We'll see how we go time-wise. But I want to talk to you about the subject of how college coaches recruit high school student athletes. So how college coaches recruit high school student athletes. I really almost want to take this from a standpoint of, take you inside of their mind, right? Because many of you are approaching college recruiting with, how you feel, what are the challenges you face? What are your struggles, right? And that's important to recognize those challenges and overcome them. But one way that you can actually overcome those challenges is by putting yourself in the shoes of a college coach, right? And there's actually multiple college coaches that you kind of have to put yourself in, because you got you have the high school, you have the head coach of the team, the leader, he or she, they're in charge of the whole operation. But then they have their lieutenants, aka assistant coaches, and those assistant coaches also have their set of challenges, and they have their vantage point of college recruiting. And then in some certain schools, they have recruiting coordinators who only oversee, the recruiting element. So they're not really coaches all the time, but they're really the face of the recruiting. So they have a piece of the pie, right? So I kind of want to touch on all of them, but primarily I want to focus on, the head coach and their assistant coaches. And I want to try to, as always, I feel like I have to, put this disclaimer, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I got to put this disclaimer. When I share my insights particularly on Full Ride or even on social media, I always speak to the majority, right? And of course, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. And I feel like, disrespectfully talking here, I feel like there are some parents out there who always want to try to, like, you'll make a point, I'll make a post about something, or I'll make a comment on something, and they say, well, that's not always true. It was different for this kid. It was different. It wasn't like that for us. And I try to be really respectful, and I don't want to come off as a know-it-all. But again, you got to understand, it's really easy for a parent for you to, really, what's the word I want to say? I posted this actually. It's easy for you guys to fall in love with the exception instead of the norm. You focus on the exception and not the norm. And as a result, you could potentially be making some big mistakes. You start to compare your situation to other people. And then what's really bad is you actually can be getting some bad advice. You're trusting people who really aren't qualified to give you advice, i.e. other parents, just being 100% real with you, right? So yes, there's always going to be a situation where what I'm saying may not apply to you, or it worked out differently for somebody else. Or here's the reality. Have you ever thought about this? Maybe you are making a lot of mistakes, but thankfully, your son or daughter is just an elite athlete. They have amazing traits. Maybe your son or daughter, like say your son is like 6'7", 6'8", and you're making all kinds of mistakes along the way of recruiting. But guess what? Your kid is 6'8". It's easier for them to overcome these mistakes than say someone who's a 6'1" guard that plays basketball. The 6'8", 6'9" sophomore in high school making some mistakes along the way with recruiting, they have a lot more wiggle room than that 5'10", 5'11" shooting guard who plays for a small high school, who doesn't have a local AAU team. Those are the people who I'm really talking to. So yes, that is my disclaimer. When I'm on Full Ride, I'm trying to really address the folks who have student athletes that are under the radar, who have a lot more obstacles to overcome, who aren't 5-star recruits. Like, those are the individuals who I'm really trying to reach. Not that I don't have love for the other recruits, because I do. And I still want you to tune in. I just don't want you to be, that parent that tries to like shoot down every bit of advice because it may be a little bit different for you. So stop focusing on the exception and focus on the norm, because that's where the majority of people fall in line with. All right, so just kind of wanted, and I already spent way more time than I wanted to on that, but I just been noticing it. I'm in different groups, Facebook groups or whatnot, and there's a community of parents, and I'm just trying to, be an objective voice, and there's always somebody that kind of wants to, push back against you, and I can take it. And honestly, what they're saying isn't really wrong per se, but I just know that that's an isolated instant that only pertains to them and their son or daughter. And then the other 100 people, though, it doesn't really help them. So them talking on it like they're experts is kind of like, really? But it's all good. I have nothing but love for them anyway. But I just want to make sure, as my parents, again, be mindful of who you're getting your advice from, and then focus on the norm and not the exception when it comes to college recruiting. So let's talk about how college coaches recruit high school athletes. So what you got to understand, I've mentioned this in the past, first and foremost, for college coaches, this is 100% a business. This is how they are feeding their families. This is their full-time job. And ultimately, they got into coaching because they want to make a difference. They want to, motivate student athletes. They want to be a good example. They love the game. They're competitive. All that stuff is true. But when you strip it away, once you get to a certain level of coaching, you are there because, particularly, in college, and then obviously the next level is the pros, you're coaching because, yes, you have a passion for what you're doing, but it's also your livelihood. And once you understand that, mom and dad and recruits, that this is their livelihood, this is how they're taking care of their families, that should help you realize, like, how much is at stake. It's like, if they make a mistake with who they recruit, if you're not talented, if they get an exception, they get you into the school, and you get in trouble or you fail out, that's a reflection on them and their job performance, right? And now they get fired because, they brought in a whole class of bad recruits. That should help you realize, like, wow, like, okay, this is serious now. This isn't a part-time gig. They're not a volunteer. No, this is how they are putting food on their table. Right, this is how they're, paying their mortgage. This is how they're sending their son or daughter to college. Right, this is how they're buying clothes. This is how they're going on family vacations. All that stuff. So just understand the mindset that a coach has is that they're extremely. This is their job. This is their career. And just like you, mom and dad, you are trying to advance in your career. There's always levels that you can go. Well, coaches are on that same level. They aspire to go to different levels as well. Maybe they want to go from an assistant coach to a coordinator. They want to go from a coordinator to a head coach. They want to go from Division II to Division I, Division III to Division II, from JUCO to Division I. And at the end of the day, the only way they can do that is by winning. In order for you to win, I don't care how good of a you are at designing plays. I don't care how good you are with time management. I don't care how good of a motivator you are. Ultimately, you need talent to win. So college coaches realize that the lifeline, the lifeblood of their program is their ability to recruit student athletes. Period. And that's why there's such an emphasis on constantly recruiting. There's an old movie, I forget what it's called, it's with Alex Baldwin. I should totally know the name of this movie. I can't forget it. I cannot for life of me remember it. But it's I'm gonna look it up real quick. Always Be Closed. But the bottom line is it's a sales movie with Alec Baldwin, and it's Glengarry Glen Ross. That's right, it is Glengarry Glen Ross. And Alex Baldwin was this sales director, right? He cracked the whip on all his sales reps, and he always told them, you got to always be closing, right? Always be closing. Well, I guarantee you, with college coaches, their little saying behind the scenes is always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. They're literally always trying to replace the players that they currently have. Constantly. It never stops. I remember going on my visit. Right? I went up during my official visit. The team was playing their game that day. And you would think the day of the game, the coach is focused, locked in on the team. Right? The game's at 1 o'clock. They got their team breakfast and they got all this stuff, and me and my parents, we're in the hotel, but then we had to go somewhere to meet. And all the parents are and all the recruits are sitting together, we're kind of eating. And all of a sudden the head coach walks in. And it's like 2 hours before kickoff. I'm like, what is the coach doing here? Coach was there 2 hours before game time on our official visit, checking in with us, seeing how our night went, and are we okay? Are we comfortable? Just saying hi to us. And think about that. He's about to play a game. He's about to coach a game, and he's in that moment wooing us. After the game, right? The game's over. He talks to the press, or all the coaches talk to the press. They do their thing. That day, afterwards, they're hosting us. They're chatting with us. They're answering our questions. So coaches, you got to understand, families, are constantly on the hunt for new talent, for fresh blood. But here's the reality. This is the part that you guys don't understand. They have, unless you're like some of these top flight programs, again, your Power 5 conferences. And this is where I go back to the whole exception, not the norm. Because the majority of you who are listening to this, your son or daughter is not a Power 5 elite athlete. Like, they're not going major Division I. Yes, at the major Division I programs, they have an abundance of resources to recruit and find talent. Coach Calipari, Coach Saban, those individuals, they fly on private jets. The athletic department has an unlimited budget to spend on recruiting. They can have all these extra camps and stuff to invite. It's just obscene the amount of money that they have to recruit, to find and recruit top talent. They have their booster clubs, right? Support them. Your typical 1AA, mid-major, Division II, Division III, your NAIA, your JUCO, they don't have a fraction of the recruiting budget that a major Division I program has. And when I say major Division I program, when you really got to focus on, like, I'm talking about basketball, football. So even if you're a Division I, not all those schools have these mass budgets to recruit athletes. I know a friend, he's a mid-major coach at a university, and he says we only have a staff of 4 people. We can't be everywhere all the time. Right? So I bring this up because you guys need to understand that, okay, again, let's get in the mind of a college coach. They're always recruiting. They're always on the hunt. Always be recruiting. Okay, they know that's important. They know without good talent, they can't get wins. Without wins, they can't advance their careers. Not only can they not advance their careers, they actually may lose their job. So that's number 1 and 2. Number 3, now it's like, okay, I'm not at a Power 5 conference, and we have a limited budget. Limited budget. How am I going to possibly find all these recruits? That's their challenge. So your challenge is, how do I get on their radar? How do they notice me? Well, their challenge is, we have a staff of 5 coaches, maybe 6 coaches. How do we recruit for all these student athletes? Not only in high school, not only in junior college, but now we have student athletes overseas. How do we find all these student athletes? Another challenge, though, within the staff, here's the thing you got to realize. A challenge within the staff is they're competitive. And you best believe these coaches want to be responsible, the assistant coaches. They want to look good in front of their head coach. They want to impress their head coach. And the one way they can impress their head coach is by recruiting top talent, is by being an elite recruiter. And I would say, this is where the real value comes into play. This is where they can really stand out, is when they can convince, let's say you're a division, a mid-major program. So you're a mid-major assistant coach. You can recruit and convince a basketball player, let's say, who is a Power 5 talent. You can convince them to come play at your mid-major school. Now all of a sudden you are like a rock star to your head coach. Right? And it doesn't have to be a major conference. I'm talking about, let's say you're a Division II coach. So now you're a mid-major talent for basketball. That Division II coach is able to convince a Division I player to play Division II. So it goes all across the board. But my point is, if a coach is able to do that, an assistant coach is able to do that on a consistent basis, that helps elevate them. They get a reputation as being a great recruiter. That's how they rise up the ranks. So why am I telling you this? Why is this important? How can you use this to your advantage? Right? Coaches not only have to find these players, they have to recruit them, right? So you got to identify them, they got to evaluate them, they got to find them, to spark that interest. They got to convince them to hopefully come to the school, but then they also have to hope that this student athlete is eligible. Right? They have to it's like this big process, like, great, I found you. You're interested in me. I'm interested in you. Awesome. Oh, you have a 2.2 GPA. Oh, you're a partial qualifier. Oh, you only got an 800 on your SAT. You only got a 14 on your ACT. Oh. Not only that, but now let's say they start building up. So now all the coaches on the team, they're building up their list of their targets. They all then come together in a room. They talk to the head coach. What you got to realize is now each assistant is fighting for the particular players on their team, that they're recruiting for. Like they want to start ranking the kids on the big board. So you want the coach that's recruiting you to ultimately go to bat for you. Because basically what the coaches are saying is, okay, who are we going to offer this to? We got 5 scholarships. There's 20 kids on this board. How are we going to rank these? Who are we going to offer first? Who's our top priority? And guess what? You want to make sure that the coach that is recruiting you directly, that assistant coach, goes to bat for you. So how do you get that assistant coach to go to bat for you? I'll tell you right now, you make it easy for them to recruit you. You make it as easy as possible for them to put their name on the line for you. I interviewed a while ago, Brittany Wagner. You guys may be familiar with her. She's from Last Chance U. She's a guidance counselor on that Netflix series, Last Chance U. She's amazing. But I interviewed her, and she told me some of the questions the coaches would ask her. And one of them sticks with me to this day, and that is, they said, if you were me, would you bet your paycheck on this student athlete? Because that's ultimately what they're doing, right? So you have to answer that question. Are you the type of recruit that an assistant coach should be willing to A, put their reputation on the line for, and B, are you someone that they should be willing to, bet their check on? Because if the answer is no, guess what? They're not going to go to bat for you. If you can say, well, yeah, I'm nice, I'm talented, they should bet on my talent, but my grades, if there's a question, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So you have to make it really easy for a coach to put their reputation on the line for you. You have to make it extremely easy, without a doubt, when they're sitting in that room amongst their peers and they are looking at your tape. You want them to also be able to say, yeah, and their coach says he or she has a high motor. Their guidance counselor says they are great to have in class. They're a leader amongst their peers. They have straight A's. They got a 1,300, 1,200 on their SAT. They got a 30 on their ACT. Never had any issues. I met with their parents. Great couple. They're good people. Had me in their home. I watched them at the game. They were quiet the whole time. Because again, they're evaluating everything. So you want them to be able to make the case for you. So the question I have for you is, how easy are you to recruit? Right? And then the next part to this, and then I'm gonna get out of here, is this. Going back to the limited resources. So first you have to make it easy for them to recruit you based off of your ability, based off of your grades, based off of your character, and all that. That's the first part. But going back to what I said before, limited resources, limited budgets, they can't be everywhere all the time. One way you can help them discover you is to introduce yourself directly to them. And that's the part many of you just aren't grasping. Because these coaches, they're driving hundreds of miles, they're flying, they go to camps, they go to tournaments. I'm telling you right now, when they go to these tournaments, when they go to these camps, they have a list. They have a list of students they're going to see. So there could be 500 kids. Or they could be hosting a camp. They invited 300 student athletes to their camp. and you're one of those 300 kids in attendance, if you aren't on their list of kids that they want to evaluate, guess what? They're not going to pay you any mind. You're going to go unnoticed, most likely. Unless somehow during the competition, you happen to shine against one of the kids that's on their list. But you can't control who's on the list and who's not on the list. Right? So trying to say, oh, I'm going to go against this kid because I know. No, you can't worry about that. You can only focus on controlling what you can control. So the thing you can control is what do you do before, during, and after these camps and these tournaments. You need to introduce yourself to these coaches. And when I say introduce, I mean proactively reach out to them. And if you are a junior, I'm telling you, pick up the phone and call them. Email is cool. I'm not knocking email. Email is fine. A letter is okay. That's fine. It helps. All these things help. I'm not saying don't do the email. I'm not saying don't send a letter. I'm not saying don't fill out an online questionnaire. Do all three of those. But the one thing you really got to do is you got to leave your comfort zone. Because none of you guys are doing this, I promise you this. And you got to call. Straight up. You're a junior. You can call. You got to call over and over and over again. I'm going to leave you with this story. So when I first graduated college, I had a sales job. And I remember, when you're in sales, you gotta do cold calls, and that's where you pick up the phone and just randomly call a business and try to get an appointment, right? You weren't referred in, they don't know who you are. It's just straight up. It's called a cold call, and that can be really, intimidating, right? You don't want to do that because you're afraid of rejection. Here's the reality, though. You have to, you got to leave that comfort zone, and you got to eventually pick up the phone. Well, I worked with a woman named Linda. She was a veteran, right? She had zero fear when it came to cold calling. And I say this really respectfully. She was, when it came to prospecting and trying to book appointments, she was a pit bull. Like, she was not taking no for an answer. She was going to call over and over and over again until you finally said, I'm done. I'm not taking an appointment with you. Me, I'd call one time, leave a voicemail. If I didn't hear back from them, I was like, oh, well, I did call. Right? And then one day, I think it was like on a Tuesday, our manager got a call from a prospect, so another business in the area. And the business called our sales manager and said, hey, I just want to let you know, one of your sales reps is harassing me. She keeps calling me over and over again, and she's not getting the hint that I'm not interested. And just because he wants to be professional, our manager, he said, oh, I apologize. We just obviously want to, we think we can be of help to you. And because you didn't return any of her calls or you didn't tell her to stop, she just kept giving you a call. But I'll relay the message. I do apologize, and please, consider us for the future. So we smoothed it over, right? And I was just like, and I said to myself, like, see, that's why I don't call 3-4 times. That's bad. So the next day we have our sales meeting, and there's about 5 of us in the room with our manager, so 6 total. And he says, so yesterday, Linda, we got a call from a local business owner complaining that Linda called too much, and he was, quote unquote, harassing them. And he said, I just want to say, and I was like, oh boy, she's going to get it. He says, I just want to say, good job, Linda. And I tell you, I kid you not, my mouth nearly dropped to the floor. I'm like, what are you talking about? Good job. And he was like, listen, I would much rather get an occasional call from a disgruntled, business owner saying that we're calling them too much, than to not get any calls at all. And we are not getting any new sales because we're afraid to hear the word no. We're afraid to call. In other words, what he was saying is, in order for you to, for us to make sales, we had to be willing to pick up the call. To pick up the phone and call. We had to be, we couldn't live in fear. We couldn't be afraid of rejection. We had to just, it was all systematic. You know what? You make 100 calls, you book 10 appointments, you close 5 of them. Like, that was just the science. That was the math behind it, right? You can't live in fear. You gotta just leave your comfort zone and make it happen. My old college coach, Don Brown, he's now the defensive coordinator for Michigan, and he's known for blitzing. Like, he's an aggressive play caller. He doesn't sit back in zone. He's all about rushing the passer. He likes to blitz. They call him Dr. Blitz. He always said, even now to this day, he said back to us that when I was playing for him, you solve your problems with aggression, right? You solve your biggest problems. You solve your problems with aggression. So what does this all mean? How does this all tie back into recruiting and the coach, right? I told you earlier that coaches have limited resources. They have limited time. They're afraid to miss out on good recruits. At the end of the day, they have to be able to put their reputation on the line when recommending a recruit to the coach, to their boss. And also, I said that it's impossible for them to find every single recruit, to uncover every single recruit. It's impossible for them. There's just thousands of kids spread out throughout the United States at various levels. And now you got the kids overseas as well for some sports. What's your biggest problem, student athlete? Again, under the radar student athlete particularly. Your challenge is those same coaches don't know you exist. So what should you do? Solve your problems with aggression. Leave your comfort zone behind. My boss told me, he told us, listen, you owe it to these businesses. You owe it, and I love this saying that he would say. It's like, you have to believe in our product. You have to believe that we are helping them. You have to believe that we're saving them. Ultimately, we are saving them money. We're saving them time. And we're helping them grow their business. You have to thoroughly believe in the product. When you believe in the product, it's very easy for you to then call those businesses. It's easy for you to do a cold call because you believe in our service. You believe truly that we are delivering value. So ultimately, you owe it to them to make that call. And if you don't make that call, you're cheating these businesses throughout the area. Like, that's what he would say to us. So I want to relay that to you, student athlete. If you believe in your talent, if you believe that you've worked hard, if you believe that you deserve to play at the next level, if you believe that you can add value to a program, if you believe that a coach should absolutely put their reputation on the line for you, then you owe it to them to leave your comfort zone, to leave your fears behind and call them. Introduce yourself to them. If they don't return your call, call again. If they don't return your call, call one more time. If they don't return your call, keep calling until they say, you know what, son? You know what, young lady? I appreciate you calling me, but we don't have a spot open for you. Make them say no to you. Don't be an easy no. Many of you are being an easy no. And what I mean by an easy no, you're not making college coaches say they don't want you. That's the goal right there. I promise you. Of course you want that, yes. Of course you want to get an offer. Who doesn't want to get multiple college scholarship offers from coaches? Of course you do. But the next best thing to a yes is a no. Because you know where you stand with that coach. And many of you have no idea where you stand with any coach because you're not even giving yourself a chance at a yes or a no because you're not calling. Pick up the phone and call over and over and over and over again. Make it easy for these coaches to recruit you. That's all I got this week. I'm just so passionate about this because I know many of you, I'm telling you, you are literally just one phone call away from potentially changing your life. And you got to believe that you're worthy of it. You got to believe that you deserve to hear a yes. Again, assuming you've put in the work. Assuming you're a junior and you have a 3.0 GPA or higher. Assuming you're a junior who's taking the SAT and you have a 1100 or higher. Assuming you're a junior who is, working out with a trainer or working out on your own in the morning. You're eating right. You're going to bed. You're making good decisions. You're drinking water. You're not doing drugs. Think about all the sacrifices you are making. You deserve an opportunity to play in college. And the only thing that could potentially holding you back is your unwillingness to pick up the phone and call a coach. That's all you have to do. And yeah, you may have to call more than one coach. You may have to call more than 10 coaches. You may have to call more than 30 coaches. But I promise you, if you call 30, 40, 50 coaches and you're calling the right coaches based off of your ability, you are going to get offers. You're going to get opportunities. So call. You're a junior. I'm talking to all my recruits, but particularly I'm saying juniors because now coaches can call you back once you become a junior. If you're a sophomore, if you're a freshman, okay, do the email, do the online questionnaires. Let's just get on their radar. But if you're a junior, if you're a senior, there's no reason for you not to be making calls. All right. I hope this episode has been helpful to you. As always, you can head on over to urecruitu.com/fullride for some show notes. This is Coach Kito reminding you again. See that I went over 40 minutes in now, but I get fired up. I just can't help myself. I hope you guys forgive me. And if you stop this for whatever reason, I hope you rewind it. Or pause it and go back and listen to it again. But I am passionate, and that's just the way it is. I hope this was helpful to you. But again, this is Coach Kito Delgado reminding you that college recruiting starts with you. What steps are you taking today to earn athletic scholarship tomorrow?